If you're in the restaurant business, you know the margins are tight. And let's face it, the risks are everywhere. So today, we're not just going to talk about insurance policies. No, we're going to build a fortress around your life's work. We'll break down exactly what you need so you can get back to focusing on what you do best. All right, let's dive in.
You know, you've poured everything, your heart, your soul, probably all of your savings into creating a place that people love. But just take a second and be honest with yourself. If something went wrong tomorrow, a fire, a lawsuit, even just a long power outage, is your business actually safe? It's a tough question, I know, but ignoring it, that's the biggest gamble you can possibly take.
You see, running a restaurant is kind of like a high-wire act. It's not like an office or a regular retail store. Your risks are completely unique, and they are constant. We're talking about everything from a simple slip and fall on a wet floor to a food supplier sending you a contaminated batch, and any one of those things could threaten to bring down everything you've worked so hard to build.
Just look at this list for a second. The real danger here isn't just one of these things happening. Oh no, it's the chain reaction. A freezer breakdown, for example, doesn't just mean you lose your inventory. It could lead to food contamination, which could then lead to a lawsuit. Or one customer who is overserved could lead to an incident that puts your liquor license and your entire business on the line. This isn't theoretical stuff. These are the daily realities we see restaurant owners dealing with all the time.
To really get a handle on what's at stake, let's talk about some real-world examples. These happen to restaurants right here in Alberta. These aren't just numbers on a page. They're the stories of owners, just like you, who suddenly had a crisis on their hands.
$65,000. Just let that number sit there for a minute. For most restaurants, a surprise bill of that size isn't just a bad month, it's a potential death sentence for the business. So what on earth could cost that much?
Well, that's what a Calgary restaurant was staring at after a simple kitchen grease fire. 65 grand just for the direct damages. But you know what the real killer was? They had to shut their doors for 3 weeks. Think about that. 3 weeks of paying your staff, your rent, your suppliers, all with $0 coming in. It's a perfect example of how one incident creates two massive problems, the cost to fix it and the cost of being out of business.
Okay, here's another number, $8,000. Now that might not sound as shocking as 65, but think about your own margins. How many plates of food do you have to sell to clear an extra $8,000 in profit? For a lot of places, that's an entire month's earnings, just gone in an instant.
All it took was a classic Alberta summer storm. It knocked out the power, and just like that, a restaurant lost its entire refrigerated inventory. $8,000 worth of product right in the garbage. It's a powerful reminder that some of the biggest risks you face are completely and totally out of your control.
And then there's just simple human error. One of your kitchen staff forgets to list an allergen on the daily special. A customer has a severe reaction. All of a sudden, you're not a restaurant owner anymore, you're a defendant in a lawsuit, looking at medical bills and huge legal fees. It just goes to show you how even the smallest mistake can have absolutely devastating consequences.
Okay, so we've seen the risks. They're real, they're scary, but here's the good news. You don't have to just sit there and hope for the best. For every single one of these risks we've talked about, there is a specific type of protection. It's all about building a custom safety net for your business, one piece at a time.
And this table here, it lays it all out. That $65,000 fire, that's covered by property insurance. The income you lost while you were closed, that's what business interruption insurance is for. The $8 grand in spoiled food spoilage coverage handles that. And that lawsuit from the allergic reaction, general liability. See how it works? Each piece of the puzzle fits together to cover you from every angle. So, the next question on your mind is probably, okay, great, but what's this all going to cost me? Well, the price of your policy isn't some number that gets pulled out of thin air. It's actually a really precise calculation based on the specific details of your restaurant. So let's pull back the curtain on what actually goes into that number.
Really, it all comes down to risk. Just think about it, right? A huge restaurant with high revenue and 50 employees has way more potential for a claim than a little cafe with 3 staff. That's why your size and revenue are a huge factor. Your claims history, well, that's kind of like your driving record. Fewer accidents means you're a lower risk, so you get better rates. And finally, everything from your location in Alberta to the actual coverage limits you choose will fine-tune that final price. It's a custom quote because you have a custom business.
Look, you're an expert in food, in service, in creating an amazing experience. You wouldn't hire a plumber to design your menu, would you? The exact same logic applies to your insurance. This stuff is complicated, and trying to figure it out all by yourself is a huge risk. And that's where partnering with a specialist, an expert broker, makes all the difference in the world.
So why a broker instead of just calling one insurance company? Well, the answer is right here, 20 plus. What does that number mean? It means we don't work for an insurance company. We work for you. And that number? That's our superpower. It means we can take your restaurant's specific needs and we shop them to over 20 different insurance companies. See, anyone can find you a cheap price. Our job is to find you the right protection. We're the ones who dig into the fine print, we compare the policies side by side, and we create a competitive situation where these big companies have to actually fight for your business. And that is how you get the best coverage at the best possible price.
And this right here, this is the bottom line. We live and breathe restaurant insurance. We get the unique challenges you face here in Alberta, from our crazy winters to the specific liability laws. We know the difference between insuring a food truck in Edmonton and a fine dining spot in Calgary. That specialized knowledge is what turns a generic piece of paper into a rock-solid safety net.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about for your own business. After hearing about the fires, the lawsuits, the power outages, what is the one risk that you know you simply cannot afford to ignore? Because when you really think about it, the biggest risk of all might just be doing nothing.